This is what I do in the mornings now. After I take the girls to daycare, I find any place I want to work. I do sort of have a routine. I go to the library. I do go to cafes. I try to avoid them because you'll inevitably spend $3 on a coffee or snack or something like that. So I do like going places where, like the outdoors, where I have to bring my own little snack. But today I did stop by this little cafe because for some reason, even though I got plenty of sleep last night, I feel extra tired. I don't normally drink coffee, so I just decided to drink coffee. But I just wanted to talk really quick before I have to jump back into my work about work mornings since I have left permanently any sort of 9 to 5 or 7 to 4 job. And I just think that working for yourself or even working from home, because you can work from home and be a government worker, work for an IT company, whatever. It has its benefits. Personally, I think that when we're allowed to structure our day, or when I'm allowed to structure my day, I feel more successful and a lot less stress. Now, I could technically be working more than I would be working in any 9 to 5 because I get home and maybe like after my kids go to sleep, I'll work for a couple extra hours, but it doesn't feel like you don't feel the stress of you need to get this done before you leave work today or else you're a terrible person? So you just have a lot more flexibility in when you can get things done. And I think that takes the pressure off of us. And I was talking about this with my friend last night, who's also in her early 30s. We're 32 now. 32. Wow. And we grew up, I feel like our parents are from a generation where it's like you get a job and you work that job and you continuously work that job until you die, right? And we're just from a completely, as I guess as millennials, it's like we do feel like if that job is not making you happy, just go on and do something else. And I know that's the language when I'm speaking with my friends and I'm like, you sound really unhappy. Why are you still doing that? Just quit. Just do something else. And I think it's partially a fear of not being able to provide for, their family or for themselves. But it's also this part that's like, okay, I'm supposed to like be in a job and stay in this like particular type of job. And if I don't do that, people are going to think I'm weird or crazy or like I don't know what I'm doing with my life. And so to that part, I don't really feel that way. I don't feel that way because I remember a conversation I had with my mom when I was like 9 or 10 years old. I was in elementary school and we were talking about careers. And I came home and I was kind of stressed because I was like, I want to be a veterinarian and a teacher and a writer. How am I going to do all those things? And she was like, don't worry, you're probably going to switch like careers, throughout your lifetime. Most people switch careers, you'll be fine. And so I remember just going from there thinking, okay, fine, I'll be all of those things. But I didn't fully believe her because like this is when we first had computers in school. They were like these big IBM weird things. And like the computer program told you, like, if you wanted to be a veterinarian, you're going to have to do these, and these steps, right? You're going to have like long work hours, like little time with your family, whatever. And I was just thinking at that age, like, what? When are you ever going to have kids? Like, how are you going to be able to do that and work any of these jobs? As I was clicking through, it was like, it doesn't really factor in. And it is very difficult to work in general and be a parent, especially a mother in our culture where the mother is the primary caretaker. But today, women are expected to do just everything. So knowing myself that I'm the type of person that has to be with my children, I can't leave like someone else to raise my children. I can't teach children for 8 hours a day and like have someone else raise my children. It just doesn't make sense to me. So I knew that I was going to have to figure out a way. Like if I'm just don't have any money and we're just barely scraping by and we're happier, I'm happier, I feel satisfied. That's better for me than to have a lot of money and like spend it on sending my kids to daycare or anything like that. So, I decided to take that leap way before I was doing what I'm doing now. Like my work history looks so weird because over these past 5 years, PWA is going to be 5 in this summer, right? So over these past 5 years, it literally looks like someone trying to figure out their lives, because I'm like, oh, I gotta work to make money. But then once I do have money, I'm like, this is not actually what I want to be doing. I love teaching, like I love work in general, but at the same time, how can I do this and be with my kids? So I'd always like do things like just jumping back and forth from like working and trying to figure out a way not to work. And finally, I figured it out. But I think there are a lot of different things that you can do if you want to, not work a 9 to 5 and be at home with your family, or enjoy just life in general if you don't have a family. But you have to take that first leap of like, well, I'm not gonna continue with this job, and all the pressures and stuff that goes into that, and all your friends looking at you weird. Now, my friends are low key jealous because they're like, oh, I'm in here in this office or in here in this school building doing this, and you're out here in the beautiful environment working. And I'm like, yes. Remember when 2 years ago you told me I was crazy and making a really bad decision? And, I was like, when I went from a job making 60 something down to making nothing, yeah, it paid off right here. Okay. So I think the bottom thing is just, you have to be willing to be brave and to do something that a lot of people won't do. And I did it, and I have, and I had 2 kids to take care of and be responsible for. So I feel like if you want to do something, you can do it. You might struggle for a little while. You might have to beg, borrow, and plead for a little while, but then eventually you're going to get to a point where you're good. So, oh my gosh, my battery is on 8%. So what I'm doing out here right now, besides having a coffee and sitting and listening, do you hear that in the background? That's the Patapsco River in the background, guys. Sounds so beautiful. Birds are chirping. It just makes me so happy to be out here. But at the same time, I do have to work on the computer. But what I don't like to do is be on the internet all the time, because you're always getting these like notifications. And even with work emails are constantly coming to me, work texts and things like that. And it is distracting. So what I like to do is, it's like 10 o'clock now. What I like to do is basically I would like to say I start at like 9, but I really don't. I start basically at 10. I do some work. Like when I first get up in the morning, I do a chunk of work to just get the day started. And then I take care of the kids, do whatever, do their hair, do a lesson, take them to their daycare provider. And then really at about 10, I just like sit down and I just try to get out 3 hours of like serious hardcore work. Now it's 10:18, so I'm like 18 minutes behind, but it's like focused work in a pleasant environment with no distractions. And if I cut off, like put my phone in airplane mode, and a lot of the times I'm working outside, so I won't even have internet. I'll download like all the emails. I'll work offline making media kits or like updating websites and stuff, and then I'll go and get back online and upload it all. I find if I do that, I can be way more productive than even some people might be in a 6-hour workday, like when you're at work and lots of different things are coming to you and people are bringing in cookies for whatever, and like you're taking bathroom breaks or like whatever. It might be in schools, fire drills, or you're going to useless meetings, right? So in these like 3 hours, I always tell myself, be super productive, be like more productive than the average person is being. So then I get a ton of work done from 10 to 1. And okay, that's the morning. But then after that, like after I finish up here, I'll go to the gym, because I consider the gym right now as my second job, because my health is just so much different than it was 5 years ago before I had kids. And so I consider that as like an investment into my future and something that I have to do every single day in order to lead a healthy life and in order to be more prosperous. So I go to the gym and I try to stay there for 2 straight hours. So from 1 to 3 is the best time for me to go. But sometimes I'll also go from like 7:30 to 9 or 9:30. If I don't go before 1 o'clock, the chances of me going in the afternoon are slim, because I don't like wasting time at the gym when I get the girls back. And so then on a full day like this, I'll go and pick them up at about 3 o'clock. So then they've been in daycare from like 8 to 3. Now, what's the point of me working from home if I don't have my kids, right? So then 2 to 3 days a week, I feel like they're at daycare for this full day, which is from like 8:30ish to 3ish, right? But then, like, for example, yesterday I got my work done. I just didn't go to the gym and I just picked them up at 1. So they were only there for a few hours. And we went to the YMCA. I was able to teach them a longer homeschool lesson. We went swimming and things like that. I didn't work out. I could have, but we didn't. I went shop. We went grocery shopping, came home, whatever. Normally, Wednesdays, Fridays, I pick them up like early or don't take them at all. So that's the flexibility. There can be some weeks where they're there, 3 days a week or 4 days a week for the whole entire day because there's like some work that I've really got to do. But then the next week, I could just not take them at all, which is impossible, obviously, when you're working a regular 9 to 5. You can't just skip a week of work and chill with your kids. So anyway, that's what I do. Okay, let's see. I'm going to try to look at some of the comments, but my battery is on 5%. So I, might not be able to do this for long. Chels for hair, hi. He say, facts, I'm only doing jobs that make me happy, but my supervisor's mean, but I'm going to resolve the problem today. You go, girl. You resolve that. You get that supervisor right. That's what I'm talking about. And you can be like, it's good. Like it's not like a 9 to 5 is bad because I was happy working like as a teacher, as a veterinary technician when I was doing that. I'm kind of like you. I'm not going to stay in a job if it doesn't make me happy or if I'm like, not wanting to do it. I've only worked one job in my life where I did not like going and like it would be a struggle in the morning. Everything else, I'm like, I'm up. Let's go to work. It's going to be a fun day. So if you can do a 9 to 5 or a full days of work that you love, that's great. But if you are not loving your job, which I'm having conversations with a lot of friends lately who just hate their job, and I'm like, just stop doing it. Just stop. But also my friends are also overachievers or not overachievers, high achievers. And we come from like similar background of parents who are like, you've got to achieve. So they can't leave it. But I'm like, you're stressed out. Like every single day you feel terrible. Like your supervisors are making you feel like you're terrible people. And like, life or your job? It doesn't make sense. Find something that's going to do both. It's perfectly possible. Part-time at a children's museum. That sounds fun. Passive aggressiveness. Yes. See, I love that I don't have to worry about any of that anymore. And to be honest, there are some times when I'm like, oh, I wish that I missed that little workplace banter, that little drama at the workplace. But then I'm like, no, I don't. I would rather just be out here doing whatever I want to do. You want to homeschool your future kids? Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, this year for me especially this is the like proof year because a PWA is going to be 5. So technically right now I either have to, in our county, you have to now register your child for school or fill out like some form, which basically says they're going to skip, like they're not going to do, not kindergarten, but they're not going to do this year because they're too young, which a PWA could do. Like she's like, if she were born 2 weeks later, like on her actual due date, she wouldn't even be eligible to go to kindergarten. So I could say that, or I could say I'm homeschooling. So, this is going to be the real thing. I know a lot of people on YouTube with younger kids are like, oh, I'm homeschooling my kids. But unless they're actually age where they're supposed to be in school, you're technically not homeschooling them unless you fill out that form. It says that you are legally homeschooling your kid. And that is where the pressure starts because then it's like you're homeschooling. So you're not going to work. You got to teach your child. So I thought it was 6 years old. You legally have to be enrolled in school. In Maryland, if you are 5 by like September 1st, you can enroll in kindergarten. And in fact, you must let them know, at least in our county, you must let them know what your child is going to be doing. Are they going to go to school? Or are they going to be held back, etc.? Yeah. All right, so I'm going to go now, because my battery's on 4%, and I have not wasted time talking to you. I really haven't. It's been 15 minutes. I just wanted to share that, but I am getting emails in that I need to answer right now in order for these 3 hours to be productive so I can go and pick up my kids. So, all right. Hope this has helped somebody. Bye-bye.